On April 1, 2026, the MV Hondius set sail from the snowy port of Ushuaia, Argentina. Aboard the expedition vessel were 149 passengers and crew, representing 23 different nationalities, beginning a voyage through the remote, icy waters of the South Atlantic. On April 11th, a Dutch passenger died on board. His body was disembarked at St. Helena so his wife could begin the repatriation process, but she fell ill and died during her return journey just days later. A third passenger, a British national, then developed severe respiratory symptoms. His condition was so critical that he required an emergency airlift to an intensive care unit in Johannesburg. Because passengers had already begun disembarking and traveling to different countries, health ministries in South Africa, the Netherlands, and the UK were suddenly forced to coordinate a multi-continent contact tracing operation. Doctors in Johannesburg ran tests on the airlifted patient and confirmed the diagnosis: hantavirus. Most hantaviruses are strictly zoonotic, meaning they transmit from rodent droppings to humans but do not spread between people. This operational SOP identifies why the Hondius cluster was different. The pathogen was the Andes strain, the only known species of hantavirus that has demonstrated the ability to transmit from person to person. This strain has a mortality rate of up to 40%. Since the ship had already made several stops, potentially contagious passengers were already moving through international airports and onto commercial flights toward Europe. Public health officials were no longer dismanaging a cluster of patients. They were attempting to get ahead of a highly lethal pathogen that had already crossed international borders. Investigators traced the outbreak to a birdwatching excursion near Ushuaia. A passenger inhaled microscopic particles from infected rodent droppings carried by the wind. The virus enters a prodromal phase, an initial 3 to 6 day period of high fever, headaches, and severe muscle pain. This rapidly progresses to the cardiopulmonary phase. The virus causes capillaries to leak, filling the lungs with fluid and leading to respiratory failure. To spread between humans, the Andes strain requires prolonged face-to-face contact or direct exposure to respiratory secretions. In the shared dining rooms and small cabins of an expedition ship, these specific conditions for transmission are met hundreds of times a day. The resulting contact tree spread quickly off the ship. Secondary cases were admitted to hospitals in Zurich, while authorities in France isolated passengers traveling home. The most significant alarm came from a Dutch flight attendant. She was hospitalized with symptoms after working a flight that carried one of the original infected passengers. Independent researchers noted that the flight attendant's contact with the passenger was brief, yet she developed symptoms within a very short window. Typically, Andes virus requires long-term, intimate exposure to jump to a new host. This specific case led to questions about whether the virus was developing a shorter incubation period or becoming more efficient at spreading through casual contact. While no official mutation has been confirmed, the possibility forced public health officials to expand their contact tracing, to include airline staff and casual travelers who were previously considered low risk. The outbreak triggered the activation of the International Health Regulations, a set of global rules that mandate how countries share data and coordinate during a health crisis. In the US, the Centers for Disease Control activated its Emergency Operations Center to Level 3, mobilizing a dedicated team of physicians and epidemiologists to monitor the situation. The WHO arranged for 2,500 diagnostic kits to be shipped from Argentina to labs in 5 different countries, ensuring that potential cases could be identified immediately upon arrival. The ship was eventually routed to Tenerife in the Canary Islands, where Spanish authorities prepared a secure, isolated docking area. The operation concluded with the controlled disembarkation of over 100 passengers, who were required to wear full hazmat gear as they moved from the ship to medical screening stations. For the returning Dutch passengers, the end of the cruise was followed by a mandatory 6-week home quarantine, even for those who showed no signs of illness. This extended quarantine is based on the virus's biology. The Andes strain can remain dormant in the body for an incubation period of up to 54 days. While the WHO has maintained that the risk to the general public is low, global surveillance continues as officials monitor for any further secondary cases. The timeline of the MV Hondius shows how quickly a local zoonotic event can trigger an international response, requiring immediate coordination between shipping companies, national health agencies, and global experts